Usually when it comes to staying organized and writing things down, I like to stick to a disc-bound planner system. But this year I'm shaking things up a little bit and trying my first bullet journal, or sort of. It depends on how you define bullet journal, but we'll get into that in a bit. So let's go over what this notebook actually is, what I've learned about bullet journaling so far, and how I'm actually using this notebook. Hey there, it's Elisa, but of course you can call me Ellie. So you've seen how I've been using my planner for this year, but I also need something else for journaling outside of my planner. I usually keep some kind of notebook for like journal entries or diary entries or that sort of thing. But I thought for this year, maybe I should try a dot grid notebook, because you know I love a good dot grid. So one thing led to another, and now I have like a legitimate bullet journal. Okay, so what is a bullet journal? There does seem to be a lot of variety and disagreement with what exactly goes into a bullet journal. That's a whole rabbit hole that you can throw yourself down if you're really that interested. But I think we'll be able to get a good idea of the groundwork for at least how bullet journaling started as we kind of dive deeper into this specific journal. Since this is an official bullet journal, this comes with a pocket guide in the back, which is kind of like a quick startup guide for what bullet journaling is, how to set up the bullet journal, and how to practice the bullet journal method throughout the day. This guide is kind of the reason why I wanted to go with an official bullet journal. I wanted to get a good idea of what exactly is a bullet journal, like straight from the source, and then from there I could figure out how to make it work the best for me personally. There is a bullet journal book, which I think is kind of how everything started, but I'm just not a book person. So once I learned that this came with a pocket guide to kind of just give like a brief synopsis of what the book is, I was like, that I can do. So what I have here is the official bullet journal edition 2, which was created in partnership by like the official bullet journal brand and Lichterm 1917 notebook that has been customized specifically for bullet journaling. This is an A5 hardcover dot grid journal filled with 120 GSM ink proof paper. Don't ask me what all that means. I am not good with understanding paper terms. My journal is in the color blush. It's my understanding that every like year or two for this particular edition, they come out with a different color. So I do believe at this time the blush color has been replaced by more of like a yellowish color for this edition. So it doesn't look like you can get the blush color anymore from the official website. I did get this specific journal off of Amazon from a third-party supplier, and it's wrapped in this beautiful black sleeve with like a copper rose gold metallic detailing, which I am obsessed with. And there is some information on the back, but you can find more of the features outlined on the inside. In the back, we have this cute little pocket back here for storage, which did come with some bullet journaly stickers that I honestly probably won't use, but you never know. And then, of course, the pocket guide. You'll notice this does come with an elastic band and three bookmarks, but it does not have a pen loop, which I noticed some other dot grid notebooks do have. I don't mind. I don't like to stick to just one specific pen in my notebooks, so I wouldn't use a pen loop anyway. If we flip to the front, we get more of that rose gold coppery metallic detailing that we had on the sleeve, which I appreciate. I don't feel like I have to hoard the sleeve now in order to keep that metallic detail. It's built into the notebook. And there's a few more little goodies hidden in here. So in the front inside cover, it has this grid guide, which is essentially like a quick reference for how to use the dots on the dot grid pages and measure how to divide up the page. And then each page also has some divider guides, although not as extensive as the cover. Across the bottom and the side, there's markings of 2 dots to show where you can draw a line to split the page into 2 equal halves. And then there's 3 dots where you can draw a line to divide the page into 3 columns or 3 rows. At the front, there's also a little reminder about the kind of intention of a bullet journal, which is to find the balance between the system, or the what, and then the practice, or the why. The diagram is also referenced in the pocket guide if you need a little bit more context. Since the journal was designed specifically with bullet journal in mind, there are a few special pages at the front before it gets into the regular dot grid pages. The first page is the nameplate page, which I think is pretty standard for a lot of notebooks made for journaling. You'll also find this page in planners. This page terrifies me. I don't know why. I almost never use it in my planners because it's just, there's just something so scary about writing in like the first clean page of a notebook or a planner or a journal. Next, you have the key, which is where you can have a reference for your signifiers used throughout the journal to indicate like certain types of things you're listing on each page. It already has some of the more official bullet journal system, which are bullets for tasks, arrows for migrating tasks to different pages, a reminder that crossing out means that you've completed that task or you're moving on from that task. Dashes are for notes, circles are for events, and an asterisk or a star for high priority or especially significant things. Next, we have the intentions page, which I think is really important for Ryder Carroll, the creator of the bullet journal. For me though, I don't really have like a specific intention. This journal is going to be used for things that I need to write down that don't have a specific intention that would go in my planner. So I don't really know yet if or how I'm even going to be using the intentions page, to be honest. The next set of pages are the index, which are pretty self-explanatory. Each page of this journal is numbered, so the index is a nice way to help find information if you need to return to it later. And I know what you're thinking, wow, numbered pages in a notebook or a journal? What a brilliant idea. That would have been so helpful to me when I was taking notes in school, or if I was brain dumping in my diary and needed to figure out how to find that page later. I know. I don't know why every notebook doesn't do that. After the index, there's the future log, which is basically where you put things that you need to write down to keep track of so you won't forget, but you don't need to be working on right away just this second. At least that's my understanding of this section anyway. I still haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to use these pages just yet. And then the rest of the notebook are just the regular dot grid pages. To my understanding, the traditional bullet journal method is listing out everything in kind of a month view and then breaking that down into daily logs, which is where you use like the bullet symbol identifier system. You write down events and tasks as they come up throughout the day, add notes where needed, and then migrate anything over that you need to carry into the next day. But one thing that the founder, Ryder Carroll, seems to be adamant about, at least through the very minimal researching that I've done here, is that the traditional bullet journal method is really just a set of guidelines to give you a foundation of how to best keep your information organized so that you can be as productive and mindful throughout the day as you can, which I appreciate because that system doesn't entirely work for me. So, how am I using this bullet journal? My main goal for this notebook journal is to be kind of a more structured diary, essentially. Something where I can add context or insight or notes that don't necessarily fit in my planner. I've already started using this journal so far, and honestly, let me tell you, it is like a game changer. It's like the missing piece in my planner system that I didn't know that I had, but it is now fixed. It's amazing. I think as I settle more into my bullet journal, I'm going to start pulling more of my tracking, note-taking stuff from my planner into my bullet journal. For the most part, I want to keep more of the planning and tasks in my actual planner, and then anything that needs a little bit more reflection in my bullet journal. I do like the idea of organizing the journal by month. My brain already thinks in terms of months anyway, since that's how I use my planner. So I've been making like a month cover page with just a really simple layout to indicate that it's the start of the month, the dates in that month, and any national causes or celebrations for the month. And then I do list out like holidays and birthdays and stuff for the month because I just can't help myself. For my understanding, a collection is basically a list of things or a page of information that doesn't necessarily fit within like the month or daily log format. It could be just like a page to brain dump or write down a grocery list or reference a bunch of math formulas that you always forget. I think collections is just like a really fancy way to say like a miscellaneous page. I do have a few of these types of pages that I like to add right at the beginning of the month, and I'm trying to keep this journal looking clean and simple, so I just title these collection pages using my Mr. Pen highlighters and kind of follow along with the color coding system that I have for my planner. I have added a page for current events marked by like the brown color, which is typically like my daily type of things. I don't follow the news super closely or super consistently. I just kind of check in when I hear something big is happening. So this current events page isn't really a good reference list if you're trying to figure out like what's going on in, pop culture or current events. It's really more of a gauge of what's kind of organically falling into my own orbit. I also have a page for what I'm watching or listening to. This is something that I've historically kept in my planner, but since this is something that doesn't really help with my planning process, it makes more sense to keep it in my bullet journal. I do like to have a page for notes related to my cycle, which I mark in a blue color, which is typically my health related stuff. I'll also have a separate page for just like generic health related stuff, which I usually mark in a blue color that's a little bit lighter than what I do for cycle specific stuff. I do like to keep a lot of notes just for health stuff in general. And then I do have a separate page for homework from my dietitian or therapist as far as eating disorder recovery goes. There aren't any other collections that I know for sure that I want to add for this month, but because of the nature of the bullet journal, I can add more throughout the month as needed and easily return to them later because of the nicely numbered pages. I don't feel the need to make these collection pages super fancy or anything. I know that there are some bullet journalers out there that use it as more of like an art piece and make such beautiful spreads. That's not me. I'm not an artist. I just like to keep things functional and at least a little aesthetically pleasing to look at. And color coded, of course. For my actual daily entries, I do want to start building a habit of journaling more than I have in the past couple of years. I don't want to be too worried about writing things down every day. So I do want to have some kind of structure, make it at least a little bit pretty or nice to look at. So for my regular journal entries, I'll usually start out with a title that's just the date, and I'll use that brown color that's kind of like my date sort of color. And then I'll also add any like holidays or celebrations for that day because I have a problem. I can't stop writing down holidays. I don't know why I do this. And then I will add the weather if I remember. And then if I feel like it's significant for the day, I will add what day I'm on in my cycle. I definitely think it helps add some context to the journal entry to have that listed. And it's also a nice mindful reminder as I'm writing it down to help give my own thoughts some context in the moment. And then that usually helps explain some of the feelings or thoughts that are driving me to write something down that day. As I continue to share more of my planners and journals online, the more it makes me reflect on just how much I value writing things down on a regular basis. Just to put thoughts and feelings and ideas on physical paper. Just the act of writing something down can be so beneficial for things like your memory or processing through certain thoughts. And then being able to have that physically in your hands to reflect on later can also have a lot of value as well. And even the little things that happen throughout the day that don't seem that important at that time can end up being something that you legitimately enjoy reflecting on later, or end up being breadcrumbs that leads up to some epiphany sometime in the future. And so I am really, really pleased with how this bullet journal is currently fitting into kind of my planning, memory keeping process, which if you're wanting to see what the planner side of this process really looks like, I do have a video that kind of walks through what my process is in my planner. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely watch that video next.